She thought she was born into a loving family, but it turned out they were trapped in a nightmare of fanaticism and control. One confession shattered everything. She no longer believed, and her world exploded. Today, you'll discover how one girl's bold escape from her oppressive upbringing changed her life forever. We'll reveal how her family's twisted faith pushed them to the brink, and what she did to break free against all odds. And wait until you hear the shocking secret she uncovered about her own past. It's a truth that could save others from the same trap. If you've ever felt trapped or judged for simply being yourself, this story is for you. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, and hit that like button if you believe everyone deserves the freedom to be who they truly are. This is a story about breaking chains, facing fears, and finding your own path, something you won't want to miss. Stay tuned, because the real twist is closer than you think. I grew up in a house where everyone followed the same strict rules. My family believed in a very strong faith. My mother was very serious about it. She always talked about God and heaven. My father did not say much, but he agreed with her. My siblings listened quietly. We all knew that we had to follow the rules to be good children. In our house, everything was simple but strict. We had to pray every morning and night. We had to go to church every week. My mother made sure we watched her pray, her face serious and focused. She told us that faith was the most important thing. She said if we did not believe, we would be lost forever. I learned to be very careful. I watched my words. I smiled when I was supposed to. I pretended to believe, even if I didn't fully understand or feel it. I hid my doubts deep inside. Sometimes I felt sad, but I was afraid to show it. I wanted to be a good daughter. I wanted to make my family proud, but I also felt trapped. I wanted to run away and find my own way. I dreamed of being free, just for a little while. One day, I got a chance. I went to college. It was far from home. I was nervous but happy. I took a deep breath. I finally felt like I could breathe for the first time in my life. I met new friends. I learned new things. I started to think about what I truly believed. At college, I felt a small spark inside me. It was hope. I wondered if I could be myself. I wondered if I could grow up and decide what to believe. I knew my family would not like it, but I wanted to find my own truth. Soon, I started to question everything I knew. I read books, talked to my friends, and listened to my heart. I felt stronger, but also scared. I was afraid of what might happen if I told my family I no longer believed. That was my story at the start. I was just a girl trying to find her way. I wanted to be honest with myself. I wanted to be free. And that is how my journey began. I wake up in my little dorm room. The morning sun shines through the window. It feels good to be away from my family's house. I take a deep breath. I feel free for the first time in a long while. But sometimes I also feel scared. I remember what I did yesterday. I told my new friends about my life. I told them I was raised in a strict religious family. I said that I used to hide my doubts. I said I wanted to be honest now. They listened carefully. Some smiled, some looked surprised. I liked talking about it. It felt good to share part of my story. After class, I walk to the campus cafe. I sit with my friends. We laugh, talk, and plan our weekend. I feel happy and hopeful. But then a small voice inside me asks, "What will your family think if they find out?" I look at the busy campus. Students walk past, some with books, some talking on phones. I see a girl helping her friend with homework. I see a boy playing guitar and singing softly. I think, this is my new world. I can be myself here. That night, I sit in my room and write in my journal. I write about how I feel. I write about my fears and my dreams. I want to be brave. I want to find my own path. I know it will not be easy. My family is far away, and their rules still weigh on me. But I also know I am starting to see who I really am. Suddenly, I hear a knock on my door. I open it and see my roommate, Lisa. She is smiling, she is friendly and kind. "Hey," Lisa says, "how was your day?" I smile back. "Good," I say. "Really good. I think I'm starting to understand myself more." Lisa sits down on my bed. "That's great," she says. "It takes courage to be honest. Don't be afraid. You are doing the right thing." Her words make me feel warmer inside. Maybe I am more brave than I think. Maybe I can become the person I want to be. Later that night, I lie in my bed. I look at the ceiling. I think about my family. I wonder what they are doing right now. I remember their prayers and their rules. I think about the time they made me fake a smile, even when I felt sad inside. I close my eyes and whisper to myself, I am more than their rules. I am more than their faith. I am my own person now. The next morning, I wake up feeling stronger. I decide that I will keep exploring who I am. I will keep learning and growing. I know I cannot change my past, but I can choose my future. Today, I will go to class and be myself. I will talk to Lisa more. I will listen to my heart. I will try to forget the fear that once held me tight. I stand up and grab my backpack. I take one step outside. I feel the fresh air and the bright sun. It is a new day, a new beginning, and I know deep inside that I am starting to find my own way. I sat in my small dorm room, feeling both tired and excited. I had left home a few weeks ago, and now I was finally free. I looked around at my new things, a soft blanket, some books, a picture of my family. I thought about them and felt a little sad. I missed my family, but I also knew I needed to find my own way. Every day, I tried to be myself. I made new friends and learned new things. I liked how I could talk honestly, but sometimes I felt scared. I wondered what my family would think if they knew I was changing. I still carried their words in my head. I still heard my mother shouting about faith and demons. One day, I sat on my bed and wrote a letter. I wanted to tell my family how I felt. I wrote that I no longer believed the same things they believed. I said I wanted to be honest, even if it made them angry. That night, I took a deep breath. I was ready to tell them the truth. I picked up my phone and sent a message. I told them I didn't believe in their prayers anymore. I told them I was happy, trying to find my own way. I pressed send, and my heart pounded. The next morning, I got a message back. It was from my mother. She wrote quickly, her words sharp and angry. She said I was lost and possessed by evil. She told me I needed to be saved before it was too late. Her message made my stomach turn. I felt like I was underwater, like I couldn't breathe. That evening, I heard a loud knock on my door. When I opened it, I saw my mother standing there. Her face was red, and she looked frantic. She smelled like holy oil and perfume. She pushed past me and started shouting. She smeared oil on her hands and on my head, calling out prayers. Her voice was loud and wild. "Demon, come out of her," she yelled. "You are not her. She belongs to God." I froze. I didn't know what to do. My mother was acting like I was cursed or possessed. I looked at her, scared and hurt. I wanted to tell her I was still me, her daughter, but she didn't listen. She kept praying and shouting, trying to save me from something she believed was inside me. My father was in the background. He looked tired and sad. He didn't say much, but I could see his eyes were filled with regret. He didn't stop her, and I knew he was just as trapped as she was. After a long while, my mother stepped back. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. She said, "You are lost. We have to do this to save you. You are dead to us now." Her words hit me hard. I felt like I was falling into a hole I couldn't climb out of. That night, I stayed in my room, trembling. I wondered if I was still part of my family. Did they really think I was gone? Did I imagine that they saw me as broken? I felt lonely and tore up inside. But I also felt a small flicker of something new, hope. Maybe I didn't have to stay stuck in their world. Maybe I could find my own way, even if it was hard. Over the next few days, I received more messages. They were cold and distant. My family sent emails calling me lost, possessed, and dead to us. They believed I was a danger to my soul. Their words felt like barbed wire, trying to keep me away. Sometimes I read those messages and felt sad. I missed them, but I knew I had to be true to myself. I couldn't go back to the way things were. I wanted to be free. I wanted to find out who I really was. As I sat in my room, I thought about my family. They were trapped in their faith, afraid of losing me. Their prayers for my soul were really prayers for their own fears. They didn't see it. But they had become prisoners of their own beliefs. Their faith had turned into chains, holding them tight. I looked at my scars, on my arms and inside my heart. They told stories of pain and hope. I knew I couldn't erase what had happened, but I could learn to live with it. I could grow stronger. I decided I would keep walking forward. I would find my own beliefs, my own happiness. I would be brave, even if it was hard. That night, I sat outside for a while. The stars shone above me, quiet and bright. I looked up and took a deep breath. I promised myself I would never go back to hiding. I would never let fear control me again. I knew my family still loved me, in their way. Maybe someday they would see me as I am now. Maybe they would understand. But for now, I was going to walk my own path. I stood up, feeling lighter. I looked around at the dark sky. I felt a small spark inside my chest. It was hope. It was strength. It was me. Finally free. And I knew one thing for sure. I was no longer lost. I was finding who I really am. And that was enough. I woke up early that morning. The sun was just starting to peek through my window. I took a deep breath. I felt both nervous and strong. It was the day I had been waiting for. Today, I was going to begin a new chapter in my life. I looked at my phone. I had a message from Lisa, my roommate. She wrote, "Good morning. Are you ready for your first class?" I smiled. Lisa always made me feel a little braver. I texted back, "Yes, I am." Then I put on my favorite sweater and jeans. I packed my bag with my notebooks and a water bottle. I was ready. I closed my door quietly and went downstairs. My apartment was quiet. The hallway felt peaceful. I checked my watch. It was almost time for my class. My heart beat a little faster. I had come so far from that house where everything was strict and heavy. When I stepped outside, I looked around. The city was busy. People were walking, cars were driving by. I felt free, but also a little scared. I remembered my family. I had sent them a message yesterday. I told them I was safe and happy. I told them I was finding my own way. I didn't expect a reply. I knew they still believed I was lost or possessed. I didn't want to think about that now. I wanted to focus on today. I wanted to learn more, meet new friends, and enjoy my new life. My first class was in a big building with many doors. I found my classroom and stepped inside. The room was bright and full of students. I saw Lisa sitting near the window. I went to her and sat down. "Hi," she said. "Are you ready?" I nodded. "Yes, I'm ready." The teacher started talking. He explained the lesson and asked questions. I listened carefully. I raised my hand to answer. It felt good to share my thoughts. I was starting to believe in myself more. During the break, Lisa and I sat outside. We talked about everything, about our families, our hopes, and our fears. I told her I was glad I left home. She smiled and said, "You are brave. It's not easy to leave old ways." I agreed. I knew I still had scars from my past, but I also knew I was growing stronger. I was learning to trust myself. Later, I went to the library. I found a quiet corner and opened my notebook. I wrote down what I felt inside. I wrote about my fears, my dreams, and my hopes. I wrote that I didn't want to hide anymore. I wanted to be true to myself. Suddenly, I remembered something my mother used to say. She believed that faith could save us from evil, but I had learned that faith could also make you afraid. It could turn your love into judgment. I thought about how I once believed everything she told me. Now I knew better. As I sat there, I felt a small smile form on my face. I was no longer the girl who only followed orders. I was someone who could choose her own path. The day went by quickly. I finished my classes and walked back to my apartment. It was quiet again. I looked out the window and saw the sky turning pink. The world was beautiful and full of possibilities. I thought about my family. I knew they still believed I was lost. Maybe they still prayed for me, sent me messages I didn't see. But I also knew I was not lost anymore. I was here, I was alive, and I was learning to be myself. That evening, I sat with Lisa. We watched a movie and ate popcorn. I felt happy. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was starting to heal. I was slowly putting pieces of myself back together. I looked at my reflection in the glass. I saw a girl who was tired but hopeful, a girl who had been through much, but who still believed in her future. I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, I am free. It was a small word, but it meant everything. I knew the road ahead might still be difficult. My family's words and actions still haunted me. But I also knew that I had the strength to keep going. I was no longer just the girl who obeyed. I was someone who was learning to live her own life. As I closed my eyes that night, I felt peace. I knew I was on my way. I was walking into my new life, step by step, and I was ready for whatever came next. I woke up early that morning. The sunlight shined through the window, but I didn't feel happy. I felt tired and heavy inside. I knew I had to keep going, but sometimes it was hard. I sat on my bed and thought about what had happened last night. I had sent a message to my family. I told them I no longer believed in their faith. I wanted to be honest, but I knew it would cause trouble. My heart was pounding. I wondered if they would be angry or if they would ignore me. I wasn't sure what to expect. I only knew I had to be brave. I got up and dressed quickly. I put on my favorite sweater and jeans. I grabbed my bag and headed out of the room. I felt like I was walking into a storm. When I saw my roommate Lisa in the kitchen, I tried to smile. "Good morning," I said. She looked at me with a warm smile. "Good morning, are you okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes, I'm fine, just tired." I didn't want to say more. I didn't want to scare her or worry her. As I left the dorm, I felt nervous. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I took it out and saw a new message from my family. My hands trembled a little. I paused and looked at the screen. It was from my mother. The message was long. She wrote about how I was lost, how I needed prayer, and how demons were trying to take me away. My stomach hurt when I read it. I knew she was worried, but her words sounded scary. I put the phone back in my pocket and took a deep breath. I told myself I was stronger than my fears. I went to my first class of the day. The campus was noisy and lively. Students talked and laughed. I tried to focus, but my mind kept drifting back to my family and their words. During lunch, I sat with Lisa and some new friends. I told them I felt confused. They listened kindly. Lisa said, "You're brave. It's okay to feel scared. Just keep being honest with yourself." Her words made me feel a little better. I realized I didn't have to carry all my pain alone. I had friends who cared. I also knew I needed to keep going, step by step. Later that afternoon, I sat outside by a tree. I looked at the blue sky and thought about everything. I remembered how I used to hide my doubts, how I smiled even when I felt sad inside. Now, I wanted to be true to myself. I wanted to find my own way. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was tired of hiding. I wanted to be free to believe what I felt was true. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. I hesitated before looking. It was a call from my sister. I wondered if she would talk to me or stay quiet. I answered softly. "Hello?" I said. There was silence for a moment. Then her voice came, quiet and unsure. "Are you okay?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I'm trying. I want to be myself." She didn't say much. I could tell she was confused too. I said goodbye and put the phone down. As I walked back to my dorm, I felt tired, but also stronger. I knew I was in a hard place, but I also knew I couldn't go back. I had to keep moving forward, even if it was one small step at a time. That night, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. I saw my face, tired but real. I saw the scars from my past, but I also saw hope. I told myself, I am enough. I am learning to be free. And so I kept walking into the unknown, carrying my worries and my dreams. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but I knew I would face it, because I was starting to believe in myself. That was the day I began to truly find my strength, and I knew I wasn't alone. I had my hope, my friends, and the quiet voice inside me that said, "You can do this." I wake up early in my small apartment. The light is soft, and I feel a strange mix of tiredness and hope. It's been a few days since I told my family I don't believe in their religion anymore. I know they are upset, but I also know I need to keep going. I want to be myself. I sit on my bed and take a deep breath. I think about everything that has happened. I remember the anger in my mother's eyes when I told her I don't believe anymore. I remember her screams and the holy oil she poured on me. I remember my father's quiet stare, like he didn't know what to say. My siblings looked shocked and scared. I look at my phone. I have some messages from my friends at college, kind words, support, and encouragement. They tell me I am brave. I smile a little. For the first time in a long while, I feel like I am starting to find my strength. But I also feel the weight of my family's rejection. I know they are angry. I know they see me as lost or possessed. Sometimes I wonder if they will ever understand me. Sometimes I wonder if they will ever forgive me. But I tell myself I have to keep moving forward. I'm trying to find my own way. Later that day, I call my best friend Lisa. "How are you today?" she asks gently. "I'm okay," I say. "It's hard, but I feel stronger. I think I'm finally starting to believe in myself." Lisa gives me a warm smile. "That's good. Remember, you are not alone. You have people who care about you." Her words make me feel a little better. I know I am not alone, even if my family is far away and angry. That afternoon, I decide to go for a walk outside. The air is fresh. I see children playing, leaves falling from trees, and people talking. I feel the sun on my face. I realize that I am finally free to be me. No one can take that away. I walk slowly and think about what I want for my future. I want to be honest. I want to be happy. I want to learn who I really am, not who others say I should be. As I walk back home, I think about my family. They are still trapped in their faith, afraid of losing me forever. They pray and pray, hoping I will change my mind. But I know I can't go back. I have to keep going, even if it means being alone for a while. That night, I sit down and write in my journal. I write about my feelings, my fears, and my hopes. I write that I am grateful for this moment of peace. I write that I believe in myself now, more than ever. I know the road ahead will not be easy. My family's words and actions still hurt. But I also know I am stronger than their fears. I am learning to trust myself, to believe that I can be happy, even without their approval. As I close my journal, I feel a small spark inside me. It's a spark of hope, a spark of courage. I know I am not alone. I know I am finally starting to walk my own path. Tomorrow is a new day, and I am ready to face it, step by step, with my head held high. I woke up feeling different today. The sky outside was bright, and I took a deep breath. I was beginning to feel more like myself. After everything that had happened, I knew I was on a new path. Still, I carried my scars inside. Some days, they hurt a lot. Other days, I felt stronger. I sat on my bed and thought about my family. They were still in their world of faith and rules. Sometimes I wondered if they ever really saw me, not just the daughter they wanted, but the person I was becoming. I missed them, but I also knew I had to keep moving forward. I grabbed my phone and opened my messages. I saw a new email from Lisa, my friend. She always understood me. The message was simple. You are brave. Keep being yourself. I smiled. Her words made me feel warm inside. I needed that. Later, I went to the campus library. I wanted to read more about myself, who I am outside my family's beliefs. I found a book about people who have to find their own way after leaving strict homes. The stories inside helped me see I was not alone. I am not the only one who has felt lost and then found again. As I read, I thought about my mother. She was so full of fear and love. But her love was twisted by her faith. I knew she believed she was doing right. I wished she could see me as I am now, not as the girl she wanted, but as the person I am becoming. After I finished reading, I sat outside on a bench. The sun was warm on my face. I looked around at the students walking by, some in a hurry, some laughing, some studying. I felt a quiet happiness. I was learning to be myself. Then I remembered something I wanted to do. I took out my notebook and wrote a letter to my family, not to send, but to say what I needed to say. I wrote about how much I still love them, even if I don't believe the same things anymore. I wrote about my hope that someday they might see me for who I really am. I finished my letter and closed the notebook. I felt lighter. I knew I could not change the past, but I could control my future. I was slowly repairing myself, piece by piece. That afternoon, I met Lisa again. We sat in the park and watched the people go by. I told her about my plans to keep exploring and growing stronger. She nodded and smiled. "You are brave," she said again. "You are finding your way." I looked at her and felt grateful. I was still scared sometimes, but I was no longer afraid of myself. I was starting to believe in my own voice. As the day ended, I walked back to my dorm. The sky turned orange as the sun set. I looked at the stars starting to appear. I thought about my family, how they were still inside their faith, trapped by their own fears. Maybe one day they would see me not as lost, but as free. Maybe they would find their way too. But for now, I was happy just being me. I was walking my own path, step by step, and I knew I was stronger than my scars. I took a deep breath and kept walking, ready for what was next. I was finally beginning to believe that I could be whole again, that I could be free. And that was enough for today. I woke up early in my small apartment. The sun shone through the window, but I felt tired. My mind was busy with many thoughts. It was the day I chose to face my past again. It had been some time since I last talked to my family. I knew they were still deep in their faith. They believed I was lost and needed to be saved. But I was no longer afraid of their words, but had learned to stand strong for myself. I poured a cup of coffee and sat quietly. I remembered how I used to hide my doubts when I was a girl. I pretended to believe what they told me. I smiled and nodded, even when I felt confused inside. I was afraid of their anger. But now, I felt different. I had found my voice. Today, I decided to write a letter. Not to send it yet, just to put my feelings on paper. I wrote slowly, words spilling out. I told them I was happy to be free. I told them I loved them, but I did not believe the same way anymore. I explained that I wanted to be myself, even if it made them angry or sad. When I finished, I felt a big weight lift from my chest. I knew I might never get their full understanding. But I wanted them to know how I felt. I wanted to be honest. I looked at the words and felt proud of myself. Later, I went for a walk outside. The air was fresh, and I listened to the birds singing. I looked around at the trees and the sky. I felt a little bit of peace. I was walking into a new life, one where I could be true to myself. As I walked, I thought about how far I had come. I remembered the times I felt trapped and scared. Now, I was learning to be brave. I was learning that I did not have to hide who I was. I could walk my own path. That evening, I called Lisa. She always listened and understood. I told her about my day. She smiled and said, "You are strong. You are doing the right thing." Hearing her words made me feel even better. I knew my family still believed they were doing what was right. Maybe they thought they were saving my soul, but I also knew that true freedom comes from inside. I cannot be forced to believe what I do not feel. In my heart, I felt a small spark of hope. Maybe someday my family will see me for who I really am. Maybe they will learn that love is stronger than fear. But even if they never do, I will keep walking forward. I am learning to trust myself. I am learning to be happy. I am learning that the most important thing is to be honest and brave. And I know that I am not alone. As I lay down to sleep, I closed my eyes and smiled. I felt proud of my small steps today. I am on a journey and I am moving forward. I am no longer afraid to be me. Tomorrow is a new day, and I am ready for whatever comes next. I woke up in my small apartment. The sunlight came through the window and made patterns on the wall. I took a deep breath. It felt good to be free, but I still carried a lot inside me. My scars were visible now. They were reminders of everything I had been through. I looked at my phone. I had messages from my friends. They told me I was brave and strong. I smiled a little. It was nice to hear that. I felt proud of myself. I had come far since I left my family's house. But I also felt tired. Sometimes I wondered if I could really leave everything behind. My family was still there, still praying and pretending to believe. Their prayers felt like chains around them. Their prayers for me, for my soul, still echoed in my mind. I remembered the last time I saw them. It was not easy. My mother had smeared holy oil on her hands and screamed that I was possessed. My father looked sad but said nothing. My siblings watched, their faces full of confusion and fear. I felt like I was in a storm I couldn't escape. I decided to call Lisa. She was my best friend. She always listened and understood. When she answered, I said, "Hi, Lisa. I need to tell you something." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You can tell me anything. I'm listening." I took a deep breath. I told my family I don't believe in their faith anymore. I told them I want to be myself. And they lost control. My mom screamed and smeared oil. My dad was quiet but angry. They said I was lost and dangerous. They said I was dead to them. Lisa was silent. She knew how hard that was. "That must have been so hard," she said softly. "But you are not dead. You are alive. You are stronger than their words." Her words made my heart feel lighter. I had been scared that I lost my family forever. But Lisa was right. I was alive. I was building a new life. Still, I knew the pain was not gone. I mourned the family I loved and lost. I missed their smile, even if it was filled with anger or fear. I wished things could be different, but I also knew I couldn't go back now. In my mind, I saw my family. They were still praying and believing they were saving me. But I saw something else too. I saw how their faith had become a prison. It held them tight, and they couldn't see the truth. They prayed for me, but their prayers were like barbed wire. They kept them from seeing what was real. They called me possessed, but really, they were trapped by their own fear. I wondered if one day they would see it too. Maybe someday they would realize that their faith had turned into a wall that kept us apart. I hoped they would find a way to break down that wall, but I knew I had to keep walking my own path. As I looked out my window, I felt a new strength inside me. I was not afraid of what they thought anymore. I was learning to believe in myself. I was making my own way. I thought about the scars on my arms. They will never disappear, but now I see them as marks of my fight to be free. They are part of me, but they don't define me. I stood up and looked in the mirror. I looked at my face, my eyes. I saw someone who was hurt, but also someone who was brave, someone who had survived. Then I said softly, "I am moving forward. I will be myself. No matter what they say, I am alive. I am free." With that, I took a small bag and packed a few things. I was ready to walk into my future. I didn't know exactly what was ahead, but I knew I was strong enough to face it. I stepped outside my door. The street was quiet. I felt the wind on my face. I felt the sun on my skin. I felt alive. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. I took a deep breath and started to walk. Step by step, I was leaving the past behind. I was walking into my own light, and as I walked, I whispered in my heart, "Freedom is believing in myself. Freedom is knowing I am enough." My journey was far from over, but now I had faith in one thing, myself, and that was enough to keep me moving forward. It is finally the last episode. I stand outside, looking at the sky. The sun is setting, and the light makes everything look peaceful. I feel different. I feel free. For a long time, I was afraid I would never be able to leave my past behind. But now, I know I am stronger than my fears. I walk slowly, feeling the ground under my feet. I take a deep breath. This is my new beginning. I remember everything I went through. The days I was scared to tell the truth. The nights I cried alone. the times I felt like I was lost in a dark world. But I also remember the moments I found my voice, when I said, I am enough. When I decided to believe in myself, that moment when I finally walked away from their rules. My family is still there, stuck in their faith. They pray and pray for me. They send messages online, calling me lost or possessed. They say I am still their daughter, but I know they believe I am dead to them. It hurts to see how much they are trapped by their own fears. Yet I also see that their faith has become a prison for them. They are haunted by their guilt and their anger. They pray to forget their mistakes, but their prayers only make the silence louder. I think about my mother. She was so full of love, but her love became a weapon. She smeared holy oil on me and shouted. She believed she was saving my soul, but she only pushed me away. I see her in my mind crying alone, feeling she failed. I want her to be happy, but I know she cannot find peace while she holds on so tightly to her faith. My father is quiet. He never spoke much, but I saw his eyes. I saw the sadness inside him. He follows her, but I know he also feels broken. He is tired of fighting, tired of pretending everything is okay. He wants to help, but he doesn't know how. Sometimes I wonder if he wishes things could be different. My siblings are confused. Some believe in the faith, some don't. Some want to reach out to me, but they are afraid. They are caught between loyalty and truth. I hope someday they will see that I am still their sister, still loved, even if I don't believe the same things anymore. I look at Lisa. She's my friend. She always believed in me. She never judged me. She listened when I was sad and cheered when I was brave. She still stands by my side. I am grateful for her kindness. She helps me remember that I am not alone. Now, I want to say something to everyone. To my family, to myself, and to all of you who listen. I am not the monster they made me seem. I am not possessed or lost. I am a person who wants to be free. I want to believe in myself and my future. I want to leave behind the darkness of the past. The truth is, I am not possessed by anything. The real possession is the fear and guilt that held my family. They are trapped by their own faith, afraid to face their mistakes. They pray for me, but they forget to pray for themselves. They are prisoners of a false belief that keeps them from seeing the love they still hold. I walk farther into the open. The sky is dark now, but I do not feel afraid. Instead, I feel hope. I know I cannot change their hearts, but I can live my own life. I can be happy. I can believe in my own dreams. This is my story. It is about breaking free from a cage. It is about finding my happiness and my truth. And it is about knowing that I am enough just as I am. I take one last look at the sky. The stars are beginning to shine. I smile. I am walking into my future, step by step. No matter what my family says or thinks, I will keep moving forward, because I am free now. And that is all I need. The end.